There's a wildness to Mongolia that doesn't ask for permission. It's in the way the wind carves stories into the steppe. In the way horses, real horses, the kind that have never known a saddle, disappear over ridges like ghosts. This isn't a place that begs to be seen. It doesn't need your attention. And that's exactly why it demands it. I came here searching for something I couldn't name. Maybe silence, maybe space, maybe just proof that places like this still exist. What I found was a land that refuses to be tamed, where gurs stand beside futuristic pods, where sumo champions build monuments to their roots, and where the last truly wild horses on Earth still outrun the modern world. The road to Asa Land Resort felt endless. Just clouds rolling in and miles of quiet. As we left the last gas station behind, the drizzle began. The kind of light rain that just brushes the windshield, enough to turn on the wipers, but not enough to change your plans. We passed villages where time moved slower. Wooden houses with rust red and faded blue roofs, some colors bleeding into the gray. The roads were rivers of mud, pockmarked with rain, empty but for the occasional stray dog. Life here felt suspended, like the earth itself was holding its breath. In a way, the weather felt like Mongolia itself, unpredictable, grounded, and quietly dramatic. The kind that doesn't announce itself, but lingers in memory long after. From a distance, the pods looked almost unreal. White domes slowly emerging from the fog, backed by the silhouettes of misty mountains. The sky hung low, a quilt of damp wool, diffusing the light into something ghostly, like the land itself was half-dreamt. These metallic-looking pods sat boldly in an open field. They looked like spaceships waiting for launch. Since it was still raining, I wasn't able to stay out long or get a good exterior shot. I told myself I'd return with my camera when the sun came out. Inside, the lobby was full of surprises. A sleek vintage car stood parked next to a full-size horse sculpture. In one corner, a grand piano. The seating area was modern, quiet, and warm. The toilets had Japanese bidets, yes, in the middle of rural Mongolia. It felt like someone had taken a slice of Tokyo and quietly placed it here, under these stormy skies. My room was tucked inside one of the pods. Inside, heated floors, twin beds with soft duvets, an air conditioner that doubled as a heater, thick carpeting, and an attached bathroom fitted with, you guessed it, another Japanese bidet. It was surprisingly luxurious, and that contrast, the wild land outside and the high-tech comfort inside, made me quietly grateful. There's something powerful about a place that offers both refuge and reminder. The comfort here is not default, it's intentional. The resort is called Asa Land, and it takes its name from its founder, Asashoryu di Dagvadorj. Asashoryu was a yokozuna in Japan, the highest possible rank in sumo, and the first Mongolian ever to achieve it. After retiring, he returned to Mongolia and invested in tourism, building Asa Land near Kharkhorin. Many of Japan's top-ranking sumo wrestlers are originally from Mongolia. Once they make it big, some of these athletes come home and reinvest in their land, in businesses, in tourism, in places like this. Those champions are building businesses, telling their own stories on their own land. The restaurant was located on the second floor of the main building. The moment we stepped in, it felt more like a modern cafe than a resort in the steppes. Clean lines, soft lighting, unique display pieces from Japan, panoramic views of the field beyond. Normally, I was told, they serve buffet meals. But since it wasn't peak season, we were served a set menu instead. A fresh salad, warm broccoli soup, and crispy chicken with fries. Who said getting white meat in Mongolia was impossible? After days of hearty red meat, this was a welcome surprise. A little slice of comfort in an unlikely place. That afternoon we drove out to Kharkhorin. Our first stop was the Kharkhorin Museum. Though photography was forbidden inside, the images linger in my memory. Silk Road, silver coins glinting under glass, weathered Buddhist statues frozen in meditation, and 13th century relics whispering of the empire's past.
Kharkhorin city, which is made based on the history and measurements and architecture of the city.
Just beyond the museum, Erdene Zuu Monastery rises from the remnants of Karakorum. Karakorum was the 13th century capital of the Mongol Empire. Founded by Ögedei Khan, Genghis Khan's successor, the city became a crossroads of Eurasian trade and culture. At its peak, Karakorum hosted a diverse mix of Nestorian Christians, Muslims, Buddhists, and Taoists, reflecting the Mongols' policy of religious tolerance. Today, only ruins and this Erdene Zuu Monastery hint at its former glory. Founded in 1586, Erdene Zuu Monastery stands as Mongolia's oldest Buddhist monastery, a sanctuary that once sheltered 1,000 monks. Its walls are guarded by 108 white stupas, a sacred number in Buddhism. Their conditions are a testament to time, some crumbling like old bones, others resurrected to gleam anew. The wind here didn't whisper, it roared. It clawed between the monastery walls, a sound like voices arguing with the past. I stood motionless, letting it press against me. No audio guides here, no glowing screens. Just the stones, the sky, and the weight of centuries. To understand a place like this, you don't just look, you listen. You let the wind carry echoes of what once was. The pre-dawn murmurs of monks in prayer. The drumbeat of horses' hooves as armies mustered. The hum of a city that thrived where now only silence remains. The snow came without warning. By nightfall, soft flakes drifted down, dusting the gyrs like powdered sugar. Too gentle for winter, yet startling in late spring. Inside, though, the cold couldn't touch us. Warm bowls cradled in our hands, laughter spilling over steaming tea, the air thick with stories, and the rich scent of scrumptious hot food. By morning, the snow had vanished. Sunshine poured over the fields, and the pods sparkled under clear blue skies, as though none of it had happened. Except for the distant peaks, where the snow clung like a whispered secret. From the air, Asa Land looked even more like a lunar base. Sleek pods surrounding the mothership, surrounded by untouched nature. We finally had a chance to tour the exteriors. Each pod was spaced generously apart, allowing privacy, and the layout curved gently with the land's natural slope. There was one mishap the night before. Our pod ran out of hot water. We made a quick call, and within half an hour, someone came and fixed it. This is a reminder that comfort here is intentional, not accidental. Things we often take for granted, hot water, heating, even internet, require careful planning in places like this. Breakfast was pumpkin soup and English breakfast. The Mongolian steppe, despite its remoteness, puts in effort to make sure to provide for the tourists, no matter how different our wants or needs are from their everyday practice. We packed up and set off toward Hustai National Park. Along the way, the scenery felt like a slow-motion documentary. Open plains, herds of horses trotting beside the road. Sheep scrambling across, startled by the engine. At one point, we saw a dead horse, vultures circling, feeding, nature in its rawest form. Then we passed a boy, maybe 5 or 6, riding a small horse to school like it was the most normal thing in the world. And when we crossed a narrow bridge, a lone herder led his sheep across. It felt like stepping into a different century. Hustai National Park, the destination that we are heading to, is about 100 kilometers west of Ulaanbaatar and is one of the best places in the world to spot Przewalski's horses in the wild. The road to Hustai National Park wasn't a road. It was a suggestion, one the steppe seemed to disagree with. Our car bucked like a wild horse, tossing me against the window, then the seat, then the camera I was desperately trying to steady. Every pothole felt like Mongolia's way of asking, "How badly do you want to see those horses?" Badly. The answer was badly. After some time, we finally arrived. The park is a designated UNESCO Biosphere Reserve and covers over 50,000 hectares of protected steppe and forest. It's a conservation success story, a rare place where a species once extinct in the wild now roams free again. We saw lots of traditional gyrs, round felt tents that Mongolians have lived in for centuries. Inside, it was clean, spacious, with wooden beds, an attached bathroom, and heating. Nearby, there was a restaurant, visitor center, and souvenir shop. Everything a traveler might need, just quietly placed in nature. We first visited the visitor center. I learned that the Przewalski's horse, or takhi, was declared extinct in the wild by the 1960s. Every takhi alive today descends from a small group bred in captivity and reintroduced to Mongolia in the 1990s. They are the last remaining truly wild horse species in the world, never domesticated, unlike modern horses. With 66 chromosomes, compared to the 64 of domestic horses, they stand as a living relic of prehistory. We entered the park slowly, the car crawling through endless plains of gold and green. No trees, just earth and sky. It felt like a treasure hunt with no map. Sightings aren't guaranteed, especially in summer when the takhi retreat to higher ground, their dun coats blending into the sun-bleached grass. We just had to try our luck. First, we spotted a herd of deer, Mongolian red deer to be exact. These majestic animals are called marul in Mongolian, and they are often farmed for their velvet antlers. In late spring, the stags stood antlerless, their crowns still rebuilding from winter's shedding. Then, 2 marmots stood sentry outside their burrow. They froze when they heard our engine, whiskers twitching, then vanished in a blur of panicked fur. We continued driving. The only sounds were tires crunching gravel and the occasional gasp when someone mistook a rock for a horse. The plains stretched on, hypnotic in their emptiness, until suddenly they weren't empty at all. There, across the ridge. Far in the distance, 3 Przewalski's horses stood silhouetted against the ridge. Too far to drive, so we parked the car and began hiking. Quietly, slowly, trying not to disturb them. We climbed in silence, wind against our ears. Up close, you could see how different they were. Thick bodies, short legs, stiff manes, coats the color of sand. They looked ancient, not like horses we're used to. They stood in the wild, unbothered and free, like something out of a dream. They nodded often. Our guide explained it was part of their herd language, a way to signal alertness or settle disputes in their tight-knit groups. We tried to climb closer to them, but they had sensed us. Without rushing, they turned and began walking away. We felt incredibly lucky to see them within just an hour. Our guide told us that some tourists spend hours driving around without seeing even one. This activity requires timing, patience, and a lot of luck. On the way back, we saw a sheep stuck in a fence. Our guide pulled over, walked out, untangled it, and got back in. No words, no performance, just care. The road back to the capital stretched ahead, empty and endless. But this time the silence felt different. Not like absence, but like something earned. Mongolia doesn't soften its edges for anyone. It doesn't apologize for the unpaved roads, the sudden snow, the horses that vanish over ridges. It simply is. And in that stubborn authenticity, it teaches you something. That beauty isn't always where the light falls brightest. Sometimes it's in the dust of ruins, in the way a stranger untangles a sheep without fanfare, in the quiet pride of a land that refuses to be tamed. Out here, time doesn't move in straight lines. It loops, like the wind around Erdene Zuu stupas, like the takhi returning to their ancestral plains after extinction, like sumo champions who build domes in the steppe while their people still sleep in gurs. So you leave with a quieter heart, not because you've found yourself, but because Mongolia doesn't care about your epiphanies. It simply asks you to pay attention to the snow that comes and goes, to the horses that choose their distance, to the stories etched not in signs, but in the land itself. And maybe that's the gift, to realize that some places don't exist to change you. They exist to remind you that you too are part of something older and fiercer and more alive than you'd forgotten.